This is TJ with Tech Made Easy. Welcome to the channel. My channel is all about making things affordable, practical, and easy. And today we're going to create a Linux server using a Linux desktop. And why am I doing that? Because a lot of people, if you're a Linux person and you know Linux inside and out, you can create a Linux server all you want. You can do everything from the command line. But like me, I'm not really a command line person. I like a GUI interface. In fact, years ago, I was trying to figure out what to do, and I went with FreeNAS back then. But FreeNAS is intimidating. It's now TrueNAS. It's got a lot in it, and I still use that because that's what I started with. But if I knew what I know today about creating a server with a Linux desktop, I would do it in a heartbeat. And one of the reasons is because what if you want to run Plex? It's so easy. Just download it and run and install Plex and run it. And not everybody knows containers and Docker and all that kind of stuff, and they just want a simple user interface. And I'm not into having a Windows server per se, and there are lots of reasons why. Linux has been doing servers forever, and this is just a great way to get introduced to Linux if you're not already, and just a fun way to have a Linux server. And we're going to accomplish this by using Linux Mint and a web program that will help us set up our ZFS storage pools called Cockpit. So let's get on the desktop and let's install our Linux GUI server. Okay, so here we are at my Linux desktop. Again, this is Linux Mint XFC, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to Cockpit really quick. So the way you do that, once you install Cockpit, is you just need to put in your IP address, and then it'll automatically pull Cockpit up. If you don't know how to do that in Linux, you can just follow me down to the bottom left here, and then if you left mouse click on this network icon, you can just say connection information, and that will give you your IP address. That's one way. And again, if you're a Linux person, you realize that I am doing this for those that maybe want to just use the GUI, or someone from Windows that's not familiar with the command lines, because you can get the same information from the command line. But anyway, there's our IP address, 192.168.1.1.44, and you would just type this in here, and in fact, if I just do that right now, 192.168.1.44, and then you have to have port 9090, and then that'll pull up Cockpit. And then you can do this on any computer in your house, and you can get some information, take a look at your server. But what we're going to be using, the reason why I'm using Cockpit is because Cockpit makes it really easy to set up a RAID. And in this computer, we have 5 hard drives, plus we have the operating system that's on a 500 gig SSD. And you can see here on this part here, it just gives some information about, a little bit of information about the computer. And I'm using an HP Z420 workstation, and the reason why I'm using that is because HP 420 workstation is a workstation server, takes Xeons, and it holds 6 hard drives. So you could have up to 6 hard drives in this one. We're just doing 5, and we're not doing huge hard drives. There's 4 terabyte hard drives in here. And let's just look at storage for a minute. We're not going to use the Linux storage system to create our RAID because I have to explain about ZFS file system here in a minute. But you can see all of our hard drives to the side here are right here. So this Samsung is my operating system, and then I've got some hard drives in here that we're going to create a RAID from. But we're going to do that from ZFS, and the reason why we're doing that, ZFS will create the RAID on the fly, where if we do that with a Linux format, it could take up to 24 hours. So the way you do this here, and if you're not used to this, it's pretty easy. We're just going to create a pool, which means we're going to create a RAID, and we're going to call this store for storage. And we're not going to do a mirror. We want to do RAID Z2. That will that'll allow one hard drive to go out. Our RAID will still be safe, and it will allow us to replace that and have it resealed. So we're going to use, I have some other hard drives in here that I'm not going to use, so I'm just going to use these 4 terabyte hard drives. So we'll just scroll down to those. I'm just going to click on these really quick here. Boom, boom, boom. There's our 4 hard drives, and on here I'm just going to set this to auto detect, and you're just going to leave everything here the way it is, and so you don't necessarily have to do the Samba, but I would just leave that. This automatic replace drives is if you had an extra drive, like right now we have 5, and you put an extra drive in the system. If it saw a drive was going down, it would automatically take that drive down. It wouldn't take the drive down, it would automatically take that extra drive and start making parity on that, and then you could just replace the other drive. But otherwise, you can still replace the drive. I don't use this even on my other servers because I want all the hard drive space that I can get in my systems. And if you're using regular hard drives, platter splitting hard drives, do the auto trim. And now we're going to create this pool, and it only takes a sec to create it, and then we'll be off and running, and we'll get the server set up. Now, okay, before we get too far into Cockpit, I need to go over, I left out how to get Cockpit. In Linux Mint, you can just go to the software manager, and here's Cockpit right here. It installs most of these, and there's a whole bunch of plugins here. One of the ones that you might want to install is the Cockpit machines. You can do virtual machines in Cockpit. If you install that, I believe it uses QEM to do their virtual management. But anyway, this is where you go. If not, I don't know all the commands to install it from the command line, but we can go, and I'll have these links. So to install Cockpit, that's the command line there. And then what you need is the plugin for the ZFS to create ZFS pools, and I'll have those links also in the description below. And then one other thing, when I created the ZFS pool, and you'll see this later on, when I created the ZFS pool, let me show you something with, if you're not familiar with ZFS, these commands here, you have RAID Z1. RAID Z1 is RAID 5, so you have one hard drive that's redundant. Well, I had accidentally chose RAID Z2. RAID Z2 allows you to have 2 hard drives go bad, and I didn't mean to choose that because I'm only using 5. The reason why you use RAID Z2 is if you had maybe 8, 7 or more hard drives. The more hard drives you have, you want more redundancy. And I'll show you what's going on here after, and this will make sense when I go to create the ZFS pool. But you'll notice here I only have 10 terabytes. I actually have 18 terabytes available. They're actually 6 terabyte drives, but you know, they're never 6 terabytes. It really comes out to 18 terabytes. Because I did RAID Z2, now it's 2 hard drives, so that really should be 14 terabytes available. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that. The other thing that makes RAID Z really efficient as a file system is you really want to have as much RAM as you can. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say on that. We'll continue with the video. Desktop, because I can install whatever software I want to use on my server right from my desktop. And one of the things we're going to do here is this. I do have Plex installed here, so we're just going to really quick. We're not going to. This isn't about Plex, but I'm just going to show you that we're going to store some movies on our new pool that we just made. This one that's called Store. But let's just go here. You click here, and down below here I'll give you some information. Now, because we have parity, it's only leaving us with 10 terabytes of storage space. Again, I'm using small drives. On my other system, I have 8 terabyte drives, so I've got basically 64 terabytes And this is up to you. Whatever your system you want to do, and you can watch my videos on doing the server on the cheap. In fact, starting at $270, you can get a 24 terabyte server. Then for around less than $500, you can do a 40 terabyte server. And I'll leave a link in that below. And that is actually under my $150 server video. When you watch that, I'll go over the pricing on that if you need a server. So then what I want to do here is you can do snapshots in here. I'm not going to go over snapshots, but you can go ahead and look at the status of your hard drives, and down here it will show our hard drives down here, and when errors come up, it'll come up and it'll give errors up here. If there's an error, it'll show which one it is, and if a hard drive needs to be replaced, you just go in here, take it offline, take it out, and then once you put a new one in, you just hit replace and it rebuilds the RAID for you. They call it silvering. But then after I create a pool, I always like to reboot the computer. So let's just go ahead and reboot the computer, and then we'll come right back. Okay, now that we've rebooted, we're going to go to the command line. Again, all this is going to be in the comments below. We're going to create a directory called server under the root directory, and in order to do that, we can only do it through the command line. Once we create this, then we can go work through the GUI. But what we're going to do here is we are going to go ahead and create that directory, and okay, I do want to explain here with Linux. If you're not familiar with Linux is their file system is case sensitive. So if you create a folder and you use a capital letter in it, anytime you're referencing that from the command line, you've got to use that capital letter. That's all I wanted to say there about Linux file system. Password. Okay, once we create that directory, we're going to give it some permissions so that we can work in that directory. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the file manager. We should don't pay attention to this server. I should have deleted it. Actually, I'm going to delete this because it's confusing to have that pop up there, because that is not what we're dealing with. That's something I was messing around with, and so let's delete that. But anyway, it's found under file system, and then here's our server right here. And now, so what we did, that command line, we gave it rights where we can read and write in here. So we're going to create this folder. We're going to call this media. Okay, so then what we want to do here is we are going to map to that media folder. The media is where we're going to store our files. Now, we could have called it files as well. I'm just calling it media because I'm going to throw some movie files in there, so it doesn't really matter. So after you create that media folder, you may have to reboot the computer if this doesn't work. So because what we're doing is we're mapping our ZFS pool to that media folder. This is the command to do that, and it's just sudo and then the ZFS set mount point equals server media, and then store is where our pool is that we created. So let's just hit that and our password. So now when we go to our file manager here, we click here, click on server, and you'll notice here that this is residing on the on the SSD, and so we have about a little over 300 gigabytes. But if we click on media, it should say the same, but because we map to the pool, it's now giving us 10 terabytes. Because we map to that ZFS pool. So now there's only one more thing that we have to do, and that is we're going to share this folder so we can see it from our other computers, whether it's Linux or Windows. And so what we're going to do here, and we're just going to do this through the GUI. You can do this through the command line as well. Most Linux people would do this from the command line, but I actually do a lot of stuff through the GUI like this. We're going to go hit our file system, we're going to find this etc, which they call etc file. We're going to right mouse click on it. We're going to open up as root, and we'll put in our password. And in here is a Samba file, and this is what's hard, is that you can create a Samba share through the file manager, but for some reason a lot of times it doesn't work. So this is just the easiest way to do this, and just go down to the bottom of this file, and we're going to add. So we're just going to add this information here, and again this will be in the link below, and this creates our share for this media directory. And so we're just going to save this. Okay, we added these lines here in Samba, and I forgot to kind of talk about what they are. So really quick, again, our share is going to be called media, and this is our path to that share, and we're making it so that we can read and write. And so when it says read only, you put no, that means you'll be able to read and write. We're making this so you don't have to log in, so we're just saying guest OK is equals yes, and then the group we use this for. I'm the user, so you just put these lines in here, and then you want it browsable, and so you put yes. That's all that those stand for. I'm not going over how to make this so, because this is for a home server, and if you want you can do that, but I'm not making this so that you have to have a username or password. You can do that though in here as well. Alright, that's all I need to say about Samba. And we'll close this, close this. We can leave this folder open for now. So that's a config file for Samba, and anytime you mess with that you've got to restart Samba, so we're going to restart that. So what that did now is that made this so we can share this through the network. So let's go back to our file manager here, and what we're going to do here is we're going to browse the network, and you can see here that I named this computer TMZ or TMEZ for TechMade Easy, and if we click on that, then this media folder is going to be there, and that's that Samba share that we created. And so if we click on that, and we made it so that it doesn't need a password, and so now we can create a folder in here, and we can get to this folder from our other computers in our home. And I'll show you that too as well. Okay, I'm at a Windows desktop here, and so now I'm just going to show you how we can access our little server there. Let's just go ahead and click on network, and we'll just put in the IP address, and here's our media file, and these are some movie files that I went ahead and copied into that folder, and if we wanted to, we can map this drive now. There's that, and now we've mapped our server to our home system here, and let's just, so we're going to go back to the server real quick. So now we have created our server through the GUI. That's all there is to it. I know that we had to go to the command line a few times, and again, when you're trying to do anything to the SSS share that you do, and you put one of those commands in and it doesn't connect to it, reboot the computer and then it'll work. I don't know why it has to do that sometimes, but on occasion you have to reboot Linux when you make some changes, particularly permissions. So now if we want that folder on our desktop so that we can access it easier, we can go ahead and create we can create a link for it. So if we go back here to file system, okay, so now if we want a shortcut to this media file that we created, all we have to do in Linux, when you create a shortcut, you just hit Shift Control, same time, drag it out, and then there will be your shortcut. And if we open this up, we should see that new folder we created. So really quick, so that is all there is to creating this. Now what I was going to tell you is that I'm going to go to another computer here in a minute, and we're going to open up Firefox, and we'll and then we'll access this. We'll access this through another computer. But before we do that, one thing that we do need to do is we do need to go ahead and download NoMachine, because NoMachine, I'll show you what NoMachine will do. And if you're from the Linux world, you may know what NoMachine is. If I can type it right, geesh. And so we go here to download, and you click on this, and it'll automatically recognize whether you're using a Mac or Windows or Linux, and see how it says download for Linux right now. And because we're using Linux Mint, that's a Debian-based Linux, so we're just going to click on this here. And I've already downloaded it, so I'm not going to download it. And all you have to do is you just have to go into the download folder, and you'll just double click on the NoMachine here, and then it'll say install package, and once you click that, it's done. I've already installed, oh, you know what, no, I haven't installed NoMachine. I was thinking I did. So let's go ahead and put in our password here, and we'll install that real quick. If you had details, it just shows you what's installing from the command prompt. Okay, once it says reinstall package, that means it's done. So we close this here, and now we can go to NoMachine, and I'm actually going to make a shortcut for NoMachine. So I'm just going to, so here's NoMachine right here. I'm going to put this on the desktop. I'm going to put it over here. This is a cool utility. You just hit no. Don't show this again. So this is all the computers I have that are running NoMachine at my house. This is my personal desktop right here. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and access that from here. And I'm going to put my username and password in here. And once I put my username and password in here, and this is up to you, you can hit save password, and I always use this method. When I open this up, I always like to, I don't want to put in my password. And I know if you were a business or an IT guy, you'd probably not want to do this, but at home, I don't care. Okay, once you type that in, again, just hit no to all these, and these won't show up again. No. Okay, this is my desktop. Oops. You can resize that however you want, or you can go here. We'll just make this full screen, and then what we're going to do here is I'm just going to go to my desktop real quick here, and I'm going to open up the browser, and then we'll type in 192.168. I'm just going to back this up a little bit, and we are 44, and then we are 90 is the port, and then here I have access to our server that we just created. So if I'm on my personal desktop, I can just go look in here. I can see what's going on. There's not much you'll do with this. Now this actually does a lot. You can create virtual machines in here. I believe it uses QEM to do that. if you want to. That's a module that you have to install. But anyway, so I'm going to go to my personal desktop because I'm going to show you that I can access now this new server that we just created through NoMachine. Okay, here I am at my personal desktop, and we just, like I said, through NoMachine, we went ahead and opened this up. And again, we can just, obviously, we can take a look in here. But here's my NoMachine on the side here. And if I open that up, what I have to do here is I have to add a machine here. And so I'm just going to call this, I'm just going to call it server for now. And we just put in the IP address 168.1 44. Now we can hit add, and there's our server. So I forgot to put in my dot there, and so it didn't work, so we'll just put that in now. And so now we just hit, before we would hit add, but now I'm just getting connected here. And this stuff's going to come up, just hit OK, that's normal. And then I'm going to put in my username and address. Okay, I just put in my username and password, so now I'm just going through this, just like we did before. Okay, now that we have NoMachine installed, I went ahead. I had to go ahead and reboot the server. Something with NoMachine being a fresh install. But just once you've created that, you just click on it, and now here's my server here. And now if I want, I can put this somewhere. If I'm not going to use this server as a personal desktop, I could put it somewhere out of the way, and now I can have access to it from anywhere in the home through a NoMachine. I can also access it through Firefox as well, and I can now go to my Tech Made Easy. And this isn't a review of Cockpit, but you can see how easy it is to set up a server with it, and especially the RAID. You know, this is a thing. I only know of 2 GUI ways to create a RAID in. Now, I don't know about some of the enterprise tools, but and it's possible there may be some enterprise tools that allow you to do that, but I've only been able to find. Or there might even be a distro that's Arch-based that might have a GUI interface to create RAIDs. The only 2 ways I know to create a RAID through a GUI through Linux is WebMed or this Cockpit. And that's one of the reasons why I got this Cockpit. So you can create a Z-pool from the command line, but with Cockpit it makes it so much easier. And like I said, you can monitor it from another computer. You can come in here and check your pools and make sure that check your status of your hard drives, make sure everything's okay, and it's just awesome. And like I said, you can create virtual machines through here as well if you want to run a virtual machine, and so on and so forth. So NoMachine is pretty cool. Cockpit is pretty cool, but let's just go ahead. I'm on my personal desktop now. I'm going to go ahead and close this here, and I'm going to close NoMachine, and let's go ahead and hop back on to the server desktop. Now, even though we had to go to the command line a few times and edit a couple of files, it really isn't that hard. And to be honest, if someone would have had the instructions that I've given you today, and where I could just copy and paste them in, I may have done it this way because this is the whole thing. I used to use a Windows server years ago for our house because we have a business, and then just for our personal stuff. And then when I wanted to get into Plex, I realized I needed something different. And so, but in my journey, I did buy a Synology backup, and when I hooked it up, I didn't realize Synology had such a great graphical interface. I didn't know it was Linux. And so I actually got on and downloaded Xpinology, which is kind of, I don't know if you can call it a pirated version of Synology because it's open source. Synology really doesn't like using it. I did set it up, and but I didn't want to use it because if there's an update, it could break that Xpinology pack. So it wasn't the safest thing to do. And then eventually I got into Linux, and I realized that I could have created a Linux server. And what I mostly use my server for, I have a video server where I store all my files. I could have done that from here. So I'm just going to go in really quick here. Okay, we're on the server desktop again. And so what I'm going to do here is, this is not going to be anything on Plex or anything, but I just want to show you here. Now if we want to, this is TJ with TechMade. Welcome to the channel. My channel is all about making things portable, practical, and easy. Today we're going to be taking this work. One thing I want to show you here real quick, one of the reasons why I'm so I added some movies here. One thing I want to show you here is we're going to play both these movies here, and then what we can do is, and that the other one is playing. I'm going to turn the volume down because both of those are playing at the same time. But the reason, what I'm trying to show here is that now we can just go to Cockpit, and so if we go to Cockpit here, we can see that the CPU is being taxed to play those two videos. And so, and this one's playing down below. You can kind of see it there. And then of course this one's playing full screen. And so you can monitor from your desktop. You can see 10% CPU is being used, our memory, so on and so forth. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that real quick, how you can monitor that. And so I hope this was helpful. This is, to me, a very easy and practical thing to do. Like I said, I do run TrueNAS on my servers, only because I started 5-6 years ago using FreeNAS. But to me, this is a very simple and easy way to do this, and especially now that Linux can take advantage of the ZFS file system, and you have access to it from Cockpit. It's great. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. This is TJ with TechMade Easy. Have a great day.
Now that was easy peasy.